When Hasbro acquired the license for Star Wars when Episode 1 was released in cinemas, they went all out to produce as many action figures as they possibly could in all sorts of different scales. And that doesn't even include the playsets and the vehicles they would add to the line. The original trilogy Kenner figures back in the day had been incredibly successful, and Hasbro were keen to capitalise on the brand recognition of Star Wars. However, the one thing Hasbro hadn't banked on was the reaction to Episode 1, which was mixed. And as a result, many of their figures became peg warmers and didn't sell that well. By the time Episode 2 rolled around, Hasbro went all out again, but this time they were a little bit more cautious with their figure lines, and what we saw in the 12-inch scale was massively reduced. By the time Episode 3 would come out, they would scale things back even further. And this is a shame because the 12-inch line was actually very good, especially for Episode 2 and Episode 3, because there was brand new articulation and the moulds were slightly better. And today I'm going to be taking a look at Count Dooku from Attack of the Clones. Now, the packaging is a little bit bland, and that's mainly down to the brand they've decided to go with, the brand colours. So as you can see, it is obviously Luke Skywalker's hands holding the lightsaber there. So it's like legacy branding, but the blue is a little bit diluted, and it just feels a little bit dull. Things get a lot better on the reverse of the box though, as we can see obviously a stock image of Count Dooku from the film, which is fantastic, and we can see there's a little bit of a bio there and some images of other figures in the line. And this lineup is pretty good. We can see the Jango Fett here, and this is the deluxe version, which is a really fantastic figure. Obviously we have Dooku, we have Zam Weasel, which I think is probably one of the weaker choices, and then we have the Super Battle Droid, which makes perfect sense and again would be a pretty cool toy. And finally on the side we have another publicity image from the film there. So that's quite nice, and of course it is also collector friendly for putting on display. So when the figure is finally removed from the packaging, we can see that this is a significant step up from what we've been used to from Hasbro in terms of their 12-inch scale Star Wars figures. What we'd seen up until this point was essentially reissues of action men in Star Wars clothing. So the hands particularly would be a single rubber piece. There would be no individual fingers to grip hold of things. And all of the bodies, regardless of the characters, would be quite muscular. And to a degree, the same is true here. However, they have tweaked the formula a little bit. So the molds are now different. You'll notice particularly the hands are different. And crucially, some of the key points of articulation. One of the best examples of this is in the neck. As we can see, instead of having just the usual swivel head on the neck, the head and neck are now all one piece, and the join is at the base of the neck where it joins the shoulders. This is also a ball joint, so now we can actually tilt the head from side to side, look up and down, and this is a dramatic improvement. Plus, I think the likeness is really, really good, and this is a significant step up. Now the main body is essentially the typical action man body, although it does feel a little bit like it's been slimmed down and remoulded. So it does of course have the ball jointed shoulders, it has single jointed elbows so they can bend at 90 degrees there, but then again we see some new articulation in the wrist, because the wrist can rotate 360 degrees, but again it is this slight ball hinge joint which we're very familiar with these days, which of course hinges up and down as well. But more importantly, the hands themselves are a completely brand new mould, and the fingers have articulation. So this means we can have an open hand, or we can have a closed fist, or a pointing finger. This is brand new, and this is absolutely brilliant. The cloak is a nice flexible fabric, which is sewn together in key places to keep the shape, but it also has this clasp at the top that you can undo and remove, which essentially creates a second look for Dooku. He does of course have that standard action man sort of swivel at the waist there, which is a sort of ball joint, so there's a little bit of give to look up and down, but not a great deal. Likewise, the hips hinge so we can kick the legs out, and they can kick forwards and backwards as well, and pretty good distances too. And of course we have the single jointed knees as well. Now the boots are a hard rubber and they are one piece, which means of course that there is no foot articulation. Now another thing I love about this is the attention to detail, and at the top of his shoulder there you can see two clips so you can pull his vest open. This is absolutely brilliant, and this is an extra level of attention to detail that we haven't, again, previously seen before. So I love this, and I love that it creates so many different looks for Dooku in one figure. And overall, the tailing just feels a lot tighter, a lot sharper and more detailed. He does of course come with his lightsaber, which is perfectly moulded and based on the film appearance. And it fits very nicely into his hands. If I was going to criticise it, I might say that the handle feels a little bit too long, but otherwise it is very nicely detailed and it looks really great. And you may notice if you look very carefully that on the side at the bottom of the hilt there is a little catch. The reason for this is so that you can remove the lightsaber blade from the hilt and then neatly attach it to his belt. So it just slides in there perfectly and it's a nice, solid, snug fit. So once it clips in, it's not moving anywhere. You can kick it about and it will be stay just fine. And this creates yet another look for Dooku. So this is absolutely fantastic. This is Dooku at rest, and I think it looks really cool. I don't think this was the first Hasbro Star Wars 12-inch figure to do this, but it is a really nice feature in these figures. And so there you have it, Count Dooku in all his glory. I actually am very, very impressed with this figure. I think he's really, really nicely made. It feels to me like Hasbro were making a deliberate attempt to appeal to collectors, rather than just children. And in some ways, this figure feels a little bit like a halfway house between a traditional child's Action Man and some of the more high-end toys that were coming into the market if we think about, say, Sideshow or Hot Toys that would follow in a few years' time. Of course, it doesn't have the level of detail and attention that goes into those figures, but it is a notable step up from the articulation, clothing and detail that we'd normally get with the more traditional Action Man orientated kind of Star Wars figure. And I have to say, for me, this is a complete success. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think the sculpt is really, really nice. It's clearly very recognisable as Christopher Lee, and the overall presentation is really well done. It's very well rendered in action figure form. So for me, you know, this is 2 thumbs up. This is a really, really nice figure to have in the collection, even as an adult. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe as I'll be posting more videos soon.